We opened this morning call with South Africa, where the future of President Jacob Zuma is getting darker and darker. At the request of the Constitutional Court, Parliament announced that it would this week review the rules for removing the President from the Republic from office. Is this procedure, if initiated, likely to lead to Jacob Zuma's dismissal? Not sure, but knowing that since 2015 he has escaped 4 no-confidence votes against him. What is certain, however, is that Jacob Zuma is becoming a burden on the ruling ANC. The next elections will take place in a year's time, and Cyril Ramaphosa, a new ANC president, wants to give his side every chance of winning. But with Jacob Zuma, who is unpopular with part of the population, things are getting really complicated.
Well, the move follows a ruling by the nation's highest court on December the 29th, which said that the National Assembly failed to hold President Jacob Zuma to account as required by Section 89 of the country's constitution. This follows a string of corruption cases he's been accused of, including his alleged involvement in the Kandla scandal, in which he was accused of abusing public funding worth 246 million rand, about $20 million US, in security upgrades of his private home in Kandla, KwaZulu-Natal province. Section 89 of the Constitution deals with the removal of the president on the grounds of a serious violation of the Constitution or the law, serious misconduct, or inability to perform the functions of office. The court ruling has piled pressure on Jacob Zuma and his allies, as his opponents within the ruling ANC party are pushing for him to be removed as head of state before his term ends in 2019, when national elections will be held. Let's now speak about this court ruling with Piet Rampedi, an editor at African Times. He joins us from Johannesburg in South Africa. Good morning, Piet Rampedi, and thank you very much for joining us in the program today. Well, the first question that I have, the move to adjust rules on removing a president comes just after the Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament had failed to hold Zuma accountable for corruption. Do they want to tighten the rules and make it easier for a president to be impeached?
Look, they are not necessarily tightening the rules, but they are drawing new ones to fill a loophole in Section 89(1) of the Constitution. The Constitution of South Africa provides for the impeachment of a president for misconduct, but there's currently no procedure for doing so. So what is happening is that a committee of parliament, which is called a subcommittee on the reviewing of procedures, is currently going to meet to basically look at these loopholes and see how they can tighten them up or draw new rules as instructed by the Constitutional Court last month. Basically, the Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament had failed to hold President Jacob Zuma accountable in relation to the expenditure on his private homestead in KwaZulu-Natal province. And the Constitutional Court subsequently ordered Parliament to come up with new procedures to fill that loophole in the Constitution and make it possible for them to impeach a president if they so wish, because currently the Constitution is clear that a president can be impeached, but is very much silent. In fact, there is no any procedure in the Constitution as to how parliamentarians can go about doing so.
What, Rampedi, are there ideas being discussed on the new procedure to be proposed? Because the thing is, with Parliament, it's always about votes, and the ANC still has a good majority.
Look, currently, MPs have been talking about these rules since April 2016. Basically, this is not necessarily a new issue which Parliament is grappling with currently. In April 2016, MPs did try to tighten up these rules. In fact, they tried to draw up new procedures. They deliberated on the issues, came up with draft procedures, but these procedures were not finalized due to disagreements between MPs from the ruling ANC and those from the opposition. Subsequently, there was a comparative study which was conducted by the same parliamentary committee in 2015, but the rules again were never finalized. So there was an attempt to come up with these rules or draw up these rules to give effect to Section 89(1) of the Constitution in terms of coming up with procedures. But they never really went anywhere. They came up with drafts, they deliberated, but they couldn't agree on the final version of the rules, and they abandoned the process. So in terms of making it easier to impeach a president, I'm not really sure if that's what's going to happen, because what is not clear from the ruling of the Constitutional Court is whether the rules which are being drafted now will apply retrospectively against President Jacob Zuma.
And if Jacob Zuma would be impeached, just an example, what precedent would it set for the next presidents to come in South Africa?
Look, it will definitely set a new precedent on impeachment, because since the new dawn of democracy in 1994, no single South African president has ever been impeached. In fact, even presidents who served under apartheid, the white minority rule in the country, which ruled the country from around 1948 until 1994, not a single one of them has ever been impeached. So that will be a new precedent. But we also have our own little precedent here in South Africa, which does not necessarily amount to impeachment, but it's what is called a recall of a sitting president by the ruling party.